just to make sure everybody's still here. Give us a sec. Welcome to the Virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen your host, Suzette Veneti.
Hey everybody, how are you? It's 5:05, so just a couple minutes late, but it's 5:05. It's December 13th, 2020. It's almost over, but don't get too excited because we still have to get through everything. But, you know, whatever. It's a Sunday. It's the fourth night of Hanukkah. Also, you have 12 days until Christmas Day, so get your shopping in now and support, local theaters like Stab Comedy Theater. Link above my head. There you go. Doing all your work for you. Okay, cool. We got a great show tonight, a fantastic guest. So I'm going to be brief here with my opening remarks. Dolly Parton obliterated RuPaul. Everyone knows about it. If you don't, go ahead and read it. I can't do it justice, so you should just look it up. Just type Dolly Parton RuPaul. You'll see. She definitely obliterated him. Okay, and then the White House has a new rescue dog. Everyone's excited about that because the dog comes from a shelter. It is an actual rescue dog. Major, he's 2 years old. He's basically still a puppy. He joins another rescue dog that already lived in the White House with the Bidens when they were there last time, Champ. So we're going to have doggies back in the White House. Isn't that great? I'm not going to make a joke. I'm just saying we have rescue dogs in the White House, and that's fantastic. Staying in White House news, Joseph Epstein wrote an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal. Is there a doctor in the White House? Not if you need an MD. I don't know why he wrote it. I don't know if you guys know this story. Clifton's not here, so we don't have him to talk to this about. But maybe me and Dave will bring it up. I don't know. But basically, Joseph Epstein wrote an op-ed saying that he's 83. So he's an old man. He wrote an op-ed saying that maybe we shouldn't call the first lady-elect, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, which she goes by because she has a doctorate. And when you have a doctorate, you can go by doctor. Unless you have a Juris Doctorate, and then you really shouldn't because then you're a lawyer. But this is actually an ED. It's an educational doctorate. So she is, in fact, Dr. Jill Biden. And when Mr. Epstein wrote this, and by the way, if your name's Epstein, I don't know if you want to be writing things that are going to make people hate you more. Probably not the best time to call someone else's nom de plume or pseudonym or name of any kind out. Like, just stay back in your glass house, sir. But anyway, he said that she shouldn't go by doctor and addressed her as kiddo in the op-ed. That's right. He called the first lady-elect kiddo. She's not 83, but she's not much younger. Also, maybe don't call the first lady-elect a woman with a doctorate who is a teacher currently and in the future, kiddo. It's crazy because it's like Mr. Epstein doesn't realize that women can be doctors, medical or PhD or EDs, like educational doctors. Women can be all sorts of things nowadays. They can be doctors, they can be lawyers, they can be pilots, they can be superheroes. It's amazing, Mr. Epstein. You should check it out and see what the women in your life probably are accomplishing while you're ignoring it because you're misogynist. And I don't know, maybe the world's passing you by. So yeah, that happened. That's all I got. No other jokes other than Joseph Epstein is a joke because he called the First Lady-elect kiddo and said that she shouldn't go by doctor. So with that, are we going with Juliana?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I think, is that okay?
Okay.
Cool. We're going to go with a local drag queen who has an upcoming show she's going to promote, Julianna Budget.
Oh, hello there, Suzette. Thank you so much for having me on
Hi.
your little show or whatever this is. How are you doing?
Okay.
Okay, listen, I don't care about any of that. I just want to let y'all know, and I wanted to make a little announcement for you and your audience here that I am going to be putting together a little, I am putting together a little holiday special show. It's going to be great.
Oh, it's tape.
It's going to have all of your favorite drag entertainers. It's going to have you, who is everyone's favorite drag entertainer. It's going to have holidays. It's going to have sweaty balls. It's going to have sweater weather. It's going to have the Grinch. It's going to have elves on shelves. It's going to have old Saint Nick. It's going to have new Saint Nick. It's going to have North Pole, South Poles, dirty holes, and any other type of pole that you can think of. So please tune in on December 20th at 6 p.m. And I hope that this is going to be, y'all are going to say it a couple of times until that day comes on this here show here. Because you're in it. And you could use the money. Anyway,
It's true.
That's been my little spiel here. Thank you for having me, Suzette. Peace out.
Okay, guys, that was Julianna Budget. Her show is airing on her channel. You can look it up on her Instagram and find out where it is. It's on YouTube. It's streaming on YouTube. But you can find out the information on her Instagram, Julianna Budget. It's going to be a good show, and I actually will be in it performing. So if you've never seen that, if you've only seen me do this show, you can check it out. It is airing at the same time as our show next week, so maybe watch it afterward. Just saying. Okay, cool. With that, we're going to get to one of my favorite people. He's a contributor here, I would say every time, but then he would correct me. So I'm just going to say roughly 95% of our shows he's here. He is fantastic. He's a great follow. He has a YouTube show, which is an elongated version of what he brings here every week. So you can check him out there. Check him out if we ever go back to things in person, because that is definitely worth it. Peers and Queers, help me welcome Mean Dave.
Testicles. This thing on. Hello.
Hey, Mean Dave.
Once again, yes, I am in the 95th percentile of consistent contributing here at the Suzette Veneti show. Mm-hmm. Both when you were at your old time at 7 p.m. Pacific and currently at the 5 p.m. Pacific time, which I prefer. I do like the 5 p.m. I'm a little more spry as opposed to at 7 p.m. when it's after doing another Zoom show that I run regularly, and I'm a little more spent, and and it would be like the cigarette after some bad sex kind of performance, and my head's not all there, and so it's nice to be here, a little more fresh, it's nice. It's good to see a familiar face, even though they can't see her yet. But you have the wonderful Cheryl Anderson on here. It was a year ago at this time that my dear friend Nina G and we got to go to her neck of the woods in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and she showed us around all the snow, all the snow sites there, all the great places that were covered in snow, really. And I hadn't been in that cold weather in a long time. I fucking loved it. I had a great time. We were only there for about like think 3 or 4 days. I think 4 days total, from like Saturday till Tuesday. And we got to perform for like the smallest group that we've performed at a college, or at least I have. Nina and I have performed to smaller, but they were a great bunch of kids. It was a disability show at the University of, what state is it? Minnesota. And so we got there on like a college football weekend, and we were staying at a what do they call that shit? The Airbnb. We were staying at an Airbnb in the center of the college town. Right when we show up, not only is it, it's coldest I've ever seen in a long time, because I live in California, where people who think it's cold when it's 60 degrees out, because people are fucking spoiled. We went to where it was really cold, and they had snow, and it was still snowing. But it was clear for a minute, and then as soon as we get in there, Nina G's hungry, and when Nina G's hungry, we got to go eat right away. So she said, "Hey, looking at the eatery map of wherever to go find some cool hole in the wall food of a mom and pop type place, whatever shit, nothing chain, no national chains." She's all about supporting local business. So she said, "Hey, it's only a mile away. We can walk it if you want, or we can take the Uber." I'm not trying to spend Nina G's money, because I'm not paying for no Uber. So I'm like, "Sure, let's hoof it. No problem. I'm all for the walking." You know what? We hadn't considered the fact that we were walking a mile in the fucking snow. That's something we hadn't done. Probably, I don't know if I've ever done it at all. I used to ski when I was a kid with my parents, and they used to spend their year's savings on us going skiing just to feel like, we could go do something when I was a kid. Had a great time too, but I hadn't been in the snow in that capacity in years. And so I did something that I think Cheryl's knows not to do, that I wasn't even thinking about. I left there in a jacket. I thought maybe I should bring my sweatshirt, but I'm like, no, my jacket's good. I didn't have anything on my head. And if you walk a mile in the snow, and then it kind of started snowing, and it was actually 1.2 miles. So there's that 0.2, and that 0.2 is a lot in the fucking snow. Mm-hmm. And we got to cross the mighty Mississippi River on the way to doing it, because there's an overpass to where we were going. My head was getting pretty wet, and it's cold. The wind's hitting it, and that's when I'm realizing this is probably not a good fucking idea, leaving without anything covering my head in this 20 to whatever the hell degree weather, with wet, snow, cold, all the elements of that I'm just too stupid to think about, because I just got there. And then Nina G ended up giving me this one small thing she had that luckily I was able to put on my head that kept it warmer. And it's actually was my first mask in the pandemic, because it's like something that you can put over your head that has a hole on either side, and you can pull it down on your face. And that was my first mask in the pandemic that didn't make me feel stupid. So when we got there, it was just one of those things. It's just, that was my introduction to Minneapolis, and I treated it with much more respect since then. But we got to meet up with Cheryl, who we hadn't seen in years. I thought she was still living somewhere in LA, or I knew that she started comedy, or was really well known in California as being in Sacramento, but also performed all over. She's a very strong comic. I first met her at an open mic in Sacramento at a place called Po' Boys, and got to perform in front of my first vinyl brick wall. So over there, but she ended up showing us around, and then we got to go to the Acme Comedy Club. We wrapped up our gig, and we went to go meet up with her at the Acme Comedy Club out there, a club that he lived right next door to. And this is a club comic, mind you. Cheryl Anderson is a club comic. She's performed. She's a past feature, and it's probably headline nights at various clubs all around here and elsewhere. And here she is in Minneapolis, living right next door to the Acme Comedy Club. a place that hasn't, that as she told us, hadn't booked her, after she, given her resume. She's had headliners request her, and they still wouldn't book her. And we went over there and we walked in just as she was on stage killing. They have different open mics over there in Minneapolis. They actually have audiences at their open mics, not like out here. And they had a packed club audience at this open mic, and she was up killing for 5 minutes. It's like we walked into a comedy club, and then she got off stage, and then we proceeded to sit around and watch all of these other acts that were pretty much all dudes, and I think all of them bombed except one, and they were all terrible. And the ones that were the worst were the past features there, who were doing 7 minutes. We got to watch the worst ones bomb longer. And then she afterwards, that's when we were like, we got to hear about it. And it was one of those things that I wanted to just illustrate that here in California, there's a lot of the reputation in the comedy community as though it isn't easy being a woman in comedy. All right. Like flat out, doesn't matter how funny you are, dealing with all of the bullshit. It's comedy's hard enough, but then being a woman on, or a person from the LGBTQ community, dealing with the mainstream elements that are mostly, cis, hetero, male, whatever the fuck, that shit sucks. But we do a lot here that we don't really have a perspective on sometimes compared to the rest of the country. And when we were there, we were just sort of like, we just watched the funniest person in the room killing it, and hearing how much she had to struggle just to try and, just to be a working comic at the club that she lives right next door to. And we're out here where, we have a lot of, I don't know, it's one of the things, I think sometimes one of my favorite things about the pandemic is that it shut everything the fuck down. And sometimes you don't know how good you have it until it's gone. And and that's the thing is I really, when I first started doing stand-up, it was at the Brainwash Cafe in San Francisco. And the first thing they said, Tony Sparks said, if your women sign up first, women come up, they get their first dibs on their spots, and then everybody else signs up after that. So that just taught me that in terms of comedy, it's not like, I didn't see it as favoritism. I understood it right away, that this has mostly been a male thing, and that, and I think it's just one of those things that, you just kind of accepted and just went along with. And I think the Bay Area doesn't really like, I don't want to, it definitely gives itself credit for a lot of shit, but I think sometimes we paint a picture of our area as being much more discriminatory than we actually are, and sometimes it's a strange thing, because like I know I've had friends that, like, if they had an all-male lineup by accident, not by choice, because like comics dropped out or whatever, and then other comics online would jump on them and stuff like that. Never had that problem. I've never had that problem because I think enough women know me in the comedy scene and all that they know that pretty much I'm open to book anybody, and that my rooms aren't shit. You wouldn't really want to do them anyway. But in the end, it's kind of one of those things where it was a nice. I don't want to say it was nice to see. It was nice to see a good comic be shafted in. No, that's not what I was trying to say. It was just I told Nina, it's like, because we both were thinking the same thing. It's like, we wish we could download this experience of what Cheryl's dealing with out here and bring it so that people could see out here in the Bay Area how good we have it. And then guess what? The pandemic hit in March, a few months later, and then we got to see everybody bitch and complain. And I've been happy as a pig in shit seeing that the entire time. Because then it's forced us to adapt in different ways. We got the Zoom stuff, we got all this other thing. It's the holidays, and I think people are kind of also hoping to see some light at the end of the tunnel with this vaccine. As far as COVID's concerned and all that, I'm just grateful that I know people have gotten sick. Nobody very close to me has died, but I know people who've had people close to them die from this. It's no joke. I do my part to be safe and mind the rules and all that kind of stuff, but I also don't, I choose not to live in fear of it. And I'm always somebody, I always say, what doesn't kill you, generally leaves you scarred for life and traumatized. So I'm I just look at life as just another day closer to death, and I can't wait for that sweet, sweet nap of eternity that hopefully death someday brings. And that's just one of those things. It's like I don't mind if I die tonight because I got a lot of shit I got to do tomorrow, and I don't want to do it. Even in the pandemic, I got a lot of shit I got to do, and so that's my attitude. And I've lived. I always say I'm 44. I'm still relatively young, but I've visited my grandparents. I don't look forward to the future. All right, I'll be perfectly honest with you. 60 to 70, that's where I'm looking at. A guy like me is looking, because then my knees go out. I'm going to start losing my sense of whatever. I'm not going to remember cool things. I'm not going to remember people that I hate. Next thing you know, I'm going to be nice to everybody. Fuck that shit. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be some real nice person. I hold grudges, and I want to hold on to them to the grave. But beyond that, it's been a good, it's been as good a year as 2020 could be, considering the trash fire that it is. And we only got a few more weeks of it. I'm grateful because I think I got all my Christmas shopping done. I don't know. Just depends on, I forget who I care about sometimes. I'm so selfish. And like somebody will hit me up. I'm like, oh, they're like, hey, I got a gift for you, Dave. I'm like, oh, fuck. Got to think fast, look around my room. What do I have that looks new? All right. And, it's like, oh yeah, there's a jacket I can give them. I don't care about that anymore. Something, it's just, I gotta, think and act. This is also last year was my first Christmas ever where I got to spend it alone. It was my favorite Christmas I've had in years. I didn't have to do shit. I just hung out with my ex-girlfriend's cat watching her place for Christmas. I just vegged out, ate, watched Netflix all fucking day, which is what I do anyway, but it was special because this time it was on Christmas. The last time I got to be alone on a holiday was when my drug addiction days, when I had to call in sick to Thanksgiving because I had an 8-ball and Jack Daniels, and that's my Thanksgiving. All right. I don't fuck your turkey. I got my turkey right here, but kind of harder for family to buy that shit. But then on this particular holiday, I did all my visitings and all that stuff. I was going to my parents in Ukiah. Well, I have 4 parents. I got parents in Pleasanton and parents in Ukiah. I visited all of them, but I had the one day, the Christmas day to myself. I was 43 at the time, old enough to have my own Christmas. I don't have my own little family, so I just got to spend it with my own little, my imaginary family, me, all right? And went to some recovery meetings and shit. That's my family too, so I did all that. And this year, it's looking like this is what's awesome. This is the first year where my family doesn't want me over. Fucking great. Are you kidding me? And not in a bad way. It's because they're scared of the virus. Rightfully so. They're in the age group where it could take them out more, And it's not all my parents. My mom, my stepdad, actually, they're very, they do all the precautions. They take their vitamins, a lot of shit, but they're just strong mentally, and they don't fear the shit. And they're not irresponsible about it either. We all cooperate and work together, but we're not living in fear. My dad and my stepmom, on the other hand, the rich people, they're scared shitless. And it's fucking awesome. Because it's just, when you have everything, you're always scared of losing it. And they're great people too. I'm kind of teasing a little bit, but funniest thing was I visited them a couple weekends ago, and it was right after I was being of service to our local one of our recovery areas, and we did a mass cleaning. And this one lady showed up who has kind of 5150. She talks to herself, and she has real extreme arguments with herself too sometimes, and you think she's yelling at you. And we hadn't seen her in months because she moved to New Mexico. But she showed up out of nowhere on the one day we're trying to focus and clean this place, and she just came there to make sure that someone was in charge of not doing shit, and that was her. And so she popped in. We're like, and I didn't even say hi to her. I was like, fuck, you're here. Like kind of that kind of attitude. That's a horrible attitude to have, even with somebody in recovery. You can't let anybody make you feel like that. So I went to my dad's because I was picking up some Thanksgiving leftovers the next day, and I go to give my stepmom a hug, and and she's one of those. She's a very like she still treats me like I'm 13. Sometimes, like she gave me a hug, and it was way too strong a hug. I'd given her a hug, and I just told her I love you, and she goes, I love you more. And I said, it's not a competition. And then I went to let go of the hug, and she wouldn't let go. She wouldn't let go of the hug. And I told him about that lady, before I gave her the hug. And then she lets go and she turns to my dad and she says, "I thought you said he was being careful." Which I thought was strange to be concerned about it after giving me the long competitive hug she just gave me. Like she wouldn't let me go. And then she was concerned after the fact, which was great. And then my dad was like, "I thought he was," and yada, yada. And I was like, no one's gotten sick from the place, but we have our meetings still there. We're allowed to. It's not illegal. It's an essential accommodation covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act, all that. And then I gave my dad a big hug. And he's the one most scared of it. And he was telling me, get off me. And I would not let go. I gave him, I gave it against his consent. I'll be perfectly honest like that. So there was a hint of guilt, all right, that I gave him essentially what could be called a rape hug. And so I had to follow up. And a week later I said, "So how are you feeling? You guys feeling okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Well, you made me concerned that, you guys were worried last week when I hugged you. So now you got me concerned about you. I care. Everybody's fine." Good. So, I'm hoping that we get this Trump out because he was voted out. And there's a lot of people in denial about that. Same people who didn't believe that 9/11 was an inside job are the people who believe that there's an imaginary conspiracy with the elections. It's beautiful. Just the stupidity of America never ceases to amaze me. So hopefully we can get that. Hopefully we get the ball rolling on ending this shit. And I think I ran it enough. And you got a wonderful guest, so let's get her on here. Thank you, Suzette.
Thanks, Dave. I'll see you later.
See you later.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah.
Okay, guys, that was Mean Dave. His information was below him on the screen. You can follow him. You can send him some coin. And as always, Stab Comedy Theater information is above me, so you can follow and send some coin to this lovely theater which without we would not have this show. Anyway, like Dave said, we do have a fantastic guest. I am excited, so let's get right to her. One of the best comics I know, formerly based in Sacramento where I met her, but currently in Minnesota, keeping the Midwesterners warm with laughter if they will let her. You can find her on the internet on December 15th on Cooking with Debbie and Friends. I'm so excited and lucky to have on the show today. Join me in welcoming Cheryl Anderson.
Hey, Suzette.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
A bit cold. It's raining today. But other than that, I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Really cold.
Yeah, right. I know it's relative.
You just heard Mean Dave, right?
Well, yeah, I did. I'm from the Midwest too, so I get it. It's cold for Sacramento. You remember what that's like.
I was colder out in Sacramento than I've been here, really, because you don't dress for it, for one thing, and the buildings aren't as well insulated, and the windows are drafty, and it's cozier here.
Yeah.
It feels warmer here even.
Well, and snow insulates things. So
yeah.
It's not as cold as just cold rain. I don't know.
Yeah. Rain is the worst.
So what have you been up to during the pandemic?
Nothing at all. 0.
Okay. Well, no one has to do anything. We have talked a lot about you on this show, actually. You come up every once in a while, especially I interviewed Ellis Rodriguez, and we talked about the best comics in Sacramento. And I've talked to Ellis and Kyrie Shabazz and David Shapiro. And David says you might be the baddest bitch around. What do you say to you being maybe the best comic from Sacramento?
No. I saw Ellis's, because I felt like Ellis was kind of put on the spot because he's like, he didn't want to say, "Oh, hell no."
I don't know.
He wanted to be nice. But because Sacramento's had amazing comics. I don't put myself at that level at all. No.
Okay.
And you know what else I think is kind of weird is putting people in a hierarchy, because comedy's so subjective, that if you say this one is better than that one, or it's so I'm not saying that we're at this, but if you say a Monet compared to a Rembrandt, which one is better? Not that our comedy is on that level, but
right.
But you just can't. It's apples and oranges. You can't. I don't know.
So maybe like groups of like these are the best. This is the best group of comics, but you can't say who's the best.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of people in Sacramento that are just. Just think about all and yeah.
That's kind of. I mean, we kind of talked about it in that way, like what comics would be able to do every room. Like that's kind of how I usually look at it. Like not like this person's better than this person, but like this person can do every room, and I've never seen them have a room, like a type of room. Like I have trouble with super conservative rooms. I don't know why. They just don't like me. But like I've seen you do all sorts of different rooms, and you always get them.
And I think that's the strength of Sacramento. I think that's why we've produced so many really strong comics, is because it's such a diverse place. And if you're willing to go out and try all the different places, you figure out what you have to do to get those audiences, on your side. And it's not like in a pandering way, but just like, because like I'll do the same basic material, but I might have to like change the vocabulary a little bit, or just like you figure out. But that's what you can do in Sacramento, because like look at how many people have won the NBC competition. They
3 in a row.
And Kyrie, Mikey Winfield, and Ellis won the World Series, and then Tony Roberts and Lance is killing it, and like Jack Gallagher, he's like old days kind of, but he's amazing. All Sacramento. It
is a really I like to say it's like an incubator for both stand-up and drag. Like there's so much. I'm careful to say this. There's opportunity if you work hard enough and you look for it. There's opportunity, and sometimes you have to scratch and claw, but there's a lot going on, and you can really, like you said, perform for a lot of diverse crowds. So if you won't agree that you're the best from Sacramento, at least you'll agree that you are able to go into different rooms and, like you said, kind of change the vocab or the tags. That's what I find. Sometimes it's about like different tags hidden. Like I'll get to the punchline the same, but then I'll tag it differently, or the setup will be slightly different. What do you think made you so good at adapting to doing that? Because some people can't. Even in Sacramento, some people have trouble doing that. So what made it something that you were good at?
I just doing it over and over and over again, because it takes a long time to figure it out and adapt, and just not being afraid to, I guess, just going out and giving it a go. And, because you're bound to, especially when you're trying out new material. So yeah, just keeping at it for 12 years now.
That's how long you've been doing comedy?
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't like go out on the road and start doing road shows and stuff until my youngest was out of high school. So like 8 years I've been traveling, but pretty much 12 from the very first open mic I did.
See, that's where I think, like you said that you don't like to say like this person's better than that person. I don't like to measure performing like comedy or drag in years, because if you go to open mics 5 nights a week for a year, and I go to open mics 1 night a week for a year, have we both been doing it the same amount of time? Like, that's where it gets kind of weird. So, and everybody has their own timeline too. Like I've seen people that have just blown up, like in 2-3 years, which is really something, that they're already headlining, which is amazing. So you just can't compare yourself to what other people's timeline and what their path is. No, you can't, because it's a fool's errand to try to say like, oh, I'm gonna do it in that person's time, because like you're not that person. Right. And even if you are, like, they already did it, so maybe the opportunity to do it at that time frame isn't available. Is there a type of audience that you don't think you can connect to? Not really. The Red Hat Ladies. Do you know the Red Hat Ladies? I do. At Luna's? They walked out. There was a huge group of them that came to our show at Tommy T's when we did the Real Housewives of Rio Linda.
And I hadn't even gotten on stage yet, but they walked out after like maybe the second comic, and wrote on their check, the food is horrible and your show is vulgar.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so obvious, you know, there was a huge group of them and they're all with their purple and red and like drawing attention to themselves. So when they left, it was quite obvious.
Like maybe your wardrobe is vulgar, but no one's saying it to you. That is a thing. Like I've had shows where somebody's on stage and somebody will pull me aside because I'll be in the back as the host, and they'll say like, "Oh, the show's great, but like this comic is," and I won't name names, but like because it doesn't matter because like I wouldn't book anybody that's just vulgar, but like sometimes comedy can get blue, and that's okay. Like I think people forget that like not every joke is made for them specifically.
Yep. And I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but and there's always people in the audience, you know, and you'll see them and they'll be like angry and have a sour face, but you don't know what people were going through that day either. You know, they might just be not even listening to you. They might be thinking of something else, and that's what's giving them a sour look, you know. And sometimes, like, because you just can't help but focus on that person. And then sometimes after the show, they'll come up and say what a great time they had. You know, they're just not a demonstrative laugher. So you don't know.
Yeah. We had that last week at brunch. The first crowd was like really quiet, but they loved the show. And it's like, well,
yeah.
You know, we didn't know you liked the show because you just had a very plain face the whole time and didn't really emote.
It'd be nice if you let your face know that you're having a good time.
Right. Like that's how we know that we're doing a good job. Clap a little bit, you know, be happy.
Right.
So when I met you, you were going by Cheryl the soccer mom, and now you go by Cheryl Anderson. So which do you prefer?
Okay, so I started Cheryl Anderson, and then going to the open mics in Sacramento, you know, all the guys, nobody really remembered me, but I would roll up in my minivan, and my daughter was playing soccer. And I think I had made like a reference to soccer mom or something in my act. So they just started calling me soccer mom. And it was just real easy. Like just, you don't have to remember my name, just call me soccer mom. Just bring me up as soccer mom. So that's fine. And then I kind of thought, well, I don't really want to have a wacky name. So when I do shows, do Cheryl Anderson. So I went to the show, and then the people that put it on said, because they had the poster with my name and my picture. And then people would come in, because I had been there before, they said, oh, you know who you should have back is that soccer mom. She was great. So then I realized, you know, it's just, okay, so people remember it. It's easy. So I just kept using it. So then as time goes on, I'm like, because I'm 60 now, so I'm more like a soccer grandma. And like I said, I never really wanted to have a, you know, wacky name. So I just started using Cheryl Anderson. But then last year, so I don't remember a time. I've been trying to do Kill Tony. Do you know Kill Tony at the Comedy Store?
I do.
You've been to the Comedy Store, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started trying to get on. So if you don't know, they get a list. There's like 100 comics maybe. Put their names. Have you done it? Have you put your name in the bucket?
I have not. I want to watch it a couple times more before I ever try.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah.
I want to be ready.
I really wanted. Yeah. Yep. Good thinking. And you only get 1 minute, and that, you know, it seems like, oh, it's a minute. Anybody can do a minute, but that's an extra challenge to really do well in a minute. So I really wanted to do it. So I started going, because I'm back and forth between Minnesota and LA. So I started putting my name in the bucket when they were up in the belly room at the Comedy Store. So that's the smallest of the 3 rooms. And then Kill Tony just blew up. It's hugely popular live podcast video. So I was down in the main room. Every week I'd go. It was just soul crushing because you go and you put your name in, and then they pick you out. So you have to stay for the whole show because you never know
right.
if you're going to get picked. And if you get picked and you're not there, then you're blacklisted, allegedly. And so it's just it's like every week. So for at least 2-3 years, I want to say, I was trying to get in, and I never got pulled out of the bucket. And then when I was there with Saul, from Saul.
Yeah, no, Saul Trujillo has been on the show, so yeah, definitely.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's so good when you're down there and you see a familiar, friendly face. Like, oh, my friend is here, yay.
Yeah, I have someone to relate to and talk to.
Yeah. So I just said, you know what? Because sometimes it seems like a Kill Tony. Like if there's like a wacky person, they get picked out randomly. So I said, Saul, I'm going to just write my name down, Soccer Mom, and see what happens. And I got picked. And so it's episode 415. I did well. If I don't say so myself, I did really well.
Well, I don't even need to see it. I'll say you did well. So
okay,
go on.
And then afterwards, so then I was Soccer Mom. So they brought me up as Soccer Mom. They interviewed me as Soccer Mom. And then afterwards, the comics go around the back, and then the audience all comes out the front from the main room, and it's packed. Like I don't know, what does that hold? 300 people maybe. Mm-hmm. And I came around the corner, and the whole crowd was like, Soccer Mom. And so I looked at Saul and I'm like, I guess I'm Soccer Mom again. So, yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever thought about trying to bill it as Soccer Grandma?
No.
Yuck. Yeah. Soccer Mom rolls off the tongue. I like it.
Yeah, and I'm not a grandma. I'm old enough to be a grandma, but I'm not a grandma.
Yeah, well, then you wouldn't want to do that. That's true.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
You did mention that you've gone on the road, and I think me and Dave even mentioned that you've gone on the road. What's it like becoming a road comic?
So I haven't, I'm not like the guys that are just out like doing club to club, but I've taken some really long trips. I love it. I think it's really fun because I like kind of sightseeing along the way and going to, do you watch South Park?
Mm-hmm.
I went to Casa Bonita.
Okay.
And remember when Cartman, when they, did Kyle have his birthday there? One of them had their birthdays there.
I can't remember.
Do you remember that episode?
I remember the episode, but I don't remember
great.
Like the details.
It was great. And then when I was in Albuquerque, I did all the Breaking Bad sites, and went to the chicken place, and I got my car washed at Walter White's car wash. So it's just really fun. And doing shows along the way, because, so you have your whole day open, and then you get booked. And the longest trip I took was to Toronto. I got booked I got accepted at a festival in Toronto. So I drove from California to Toronto, and we went through Yellowstone and up through Montana, and then just did shows. I had friends who were doing shows in those places, so they gave me guest sets along the way for that trip.
How many days did that take to get from, you were stopping at night to do guest sets, but how many days did it take to get from California to Toronto?
I don't remember, because I took my time, because I went and did, and I kind of went out of the way a little bit, like went up to North Dakota, because there were shows up in Grand Forks, and then went, and I did shows in Michigan. And I was so stupid at the border. I was not paying attention, and I got kind of detained. And I think they kind of didn't believe that I had driven all the way from California just for a comedy festival, Mm-hmm. But I got in.
Did you tell Did you tell jokes to get like undetained?
I had to get back. The guy was like, "You're a comedian, right? Tell me a joke." So, yeah.
I hate that. Like people ask me.
Oh, it's the worst.
They'll ask me, and I'm like, "Well, what do you do for a living?" And they're like, "Oh, I stock shelves at Costco." And I'm like, "All right, I'll tell you a joke if you stock something right now." Like, I'm not at work, neither are you. Like, why are we?
Yeah, I always just say no. If they say tell me a joke, I just say no.
Right.
But I couldn't. I was afraid I was going to be stuck in Canada. So that was the longest trip. That was my longest drive.
Okay.
The longest trip was when we were entertaining the Marines in Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
I like to say entertaining the Marines instead of doing comedy shows. Oh, you were. And so coming back, I flew from Okinawa to Tokyo to LAX. Then I hopped in my car because my daughter had to be back in college the next day. So I hopped in my car, drove from LA to Sacramento, got my daughter, drove her back down to LA, all in, one, I don't even know how long it was. It was a long trip. I thought that's one of 2 times when I thought, there's probably like a 50-50 chance that I'm not going to wake up tomorrow morning because I was just so exhausted. I thought for sure I'd have like a blood clot break off and kill me in the night or something.
Well, I'm glad it didn't. That sounds like an ordeal. Like you were entertaining the Marines and then you flew back, and then it's too bad that you couldn't just fly back to Sacramento, but your car was in
my
LA.
car was down in LA. Yeah, so I had to get the car. And then that next morning though, I woke up, I've had like amnesia. I woke up and I had no idea where I was, what day it was, what my name was. It was the scariest thing. And it lasted, it seemed like it lasted like an hour, but it was probably 5 minutes. So.
Oh, really? Like you really like forgot your name?
Yes. And then I thought maybe I could like look. I didn't even know how to find out what my name might be, like to look at my driver's license or something. I was trying to, it was really scary. It was crazy.
I know that I look like a doctor, but I'm not actually a doctor to the viewers. But I believe that's called global transient amnesia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's just
that's caused by exhaustion or what?
I think it can be. Yeah. This is the part where my medical studies are a little lacking, but I think it can be caused by exhaustion, or stress, and it just comes on, and it never comes again. It never affects you again. But for that moment, you just forget everything.
Yeah.
And so wait, that was the next morning?
Yep. So I finally got, I drove up to Sacramento, drove back, dropped my daughter off, and then finally got a hotel that was like 3 a.m. probably. And then I think I woke up just because the sun was coming up like at 8. Yeah, and that's when I was just.
So you were in a hotel when it happened?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Where were you in a hotel?
Down in LA.
So you weren't even home.
Because that's where my daughter's school is. So my daughter's school, we were living in Sacramento. I picked her up because she had been home for winter break. So when I got back from Japan, I got her, drove her back down to her college down in Claremont, and then went and got a hotel room.
So you weren't home. Yeah. Did you remember being in Japan?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing.
So you weren't home.
Nothing.
You're in a hotel and you wake up and you don't remember your name, who you are, why you're there. Did you for a minute wonder if you were like if it was a Memento Jason Bourne situation?
Maybe, yeah. But my brain couldn't even think it was just empty. It was really scary.
There are a lot of people probably wondering, were you taking anything and what they can take to get that? But no, it just happened
just
from...
have an empty brain.
Yeah, it just happened from all the travel and stress.
Yeah. Yeah, stay up for 3 days straight, I guess, and travel. I slept on the plane, like you do. Actually, Daniel Dugar has some photos that he can use for blackmail of me sleeping on the plane. But, it's not good sleep, so...
Well, yeah, no one really sleeps well on planes.
No.
So.
And it was so cramped.
Yeah.
That's why I thought I was going to have a blood clot. It was going to break loose in the night because I'd been so cramped up for so long.
I think it was that, and then the day of driving down and driving back and then driving back down. That's. Yep. I don't know how fast you drive, but for me, that'd be 18 hours of driving, right there after flying for 18 hours.
Yep. Yep, it was a lot. It was too much. I've learned now.
Yeah,
I've learned my lesson.
Right. Do you carry something in your purse, with your name, and to remind you in case it happens again?
Well, I had my driver's license, but I couldn't even think here's where you could look to find out who you are. I didn't even know that. Isn't that crazy?
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
I would be really confused if I didn't know who I was. It would weird me out. So
yeah, that's scary.
So that's the longest trip you've ever been on. It caused global transient amnesia. And if I'm wrong, if any doctors are watching and I'm diagnosing this wrong, one, I'm not a doctor. 2, you can write in and tell us what that is. But I think it's GTA.
I'll Google it after this.
Yeah. I bet someone will Google it while we're doing this. Do you have any good tips beside don't fly back from Okinawa, drive up to Sacramento, drive back down to LA, and or drive back to Sacramento? Do you have any good tips for comics thinking about going on the road when COVID is over?
Oh, boy, I hope we're able to. I hope things get back, and clubs can. I know there are some clubs in some states that are doing shows with limited audiences.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the best thing is just to maintain a lot of contacts, because I'm not good at networking. I'm not good at asking people to hey, put in a word for me at that club or whatever. But I know people who do that have great success with it. Especially if it's in your group of comedy friends and you trust each other and you say if I vouch for you that you're going to do well at the club.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. But so I do have contacts at clubs, and just to maintain those contacts and stay in touch with people, not to be annoying about it, but just to let them know, hey, here's the dates that I have open, and otherwise just have fun with it and enjoy it and see the country and go places and see things, because it's really fun. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I'd love to go on the road with comedy. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So great.
So,
and you meet people, and you find out that people are pretty much the same all over. And it's just really fun to meet people in all the different places. And that was what's so great. I had a pasta pass. Olive Garden did their pasta pass. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
So for $300, I could go to Olive Garden. It's 5 times a day if I wanted to, for free. Played one time. So I used that for a year, and I went from I used it in Florida, I used it in New Hampshire, I used it out in California many times, in Texas, and so that was because you have to be. I kind of have a rule for myself that I pay for my travel with comedy money. So I'm pretty frugal with food. So that was really, because usually I just get a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter and live on that on the road, and sunflower seeds. But so having Olive Garden that was a good deal.
No, that sounds like a really good tip. That was my next question. Is you're a soccer mom. Do you have a snack that you'd suggest for being on the road, being in a car? But I think what you said is better. If you have a pasta, and I mean, as a full-blooded Italian, I will say that I cannot eat some things at Olive Garden because it's not like my Nonna made. But the breadsticks, the soup, the salad, I would get that all day, every day. So
yeah.
I think.
Well, I'm not saying it was delicious food,
right?
But it was basically free.
Sure.
And it was, I ate healthy. I think I eat plant-based, so I would just have marinara and steamed veggies, and then I would take the breadsticks, and then you can get refills. So I would take it for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I have leftovers, and I'd have breadsticks with peanut butter in the morning for breakfast. So, and then my daughter made me buy a bag of oranges so I wouldn't get scurvy.
You don't want to get it. Scurvy is real. People always make fun of me for the limes in my Cosmo, and I'm like, I don't want to get scurvy.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm doing the math really quickly. That's if you just had 30 meals, which you could do that in 10 days. I mean, if you went to Olive Garden for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you already made your money back. So anything past that is like you said, you were basically eating for free. So that is I wonder who else does that. If I ever go on the road, I'm going to have to look at does Subway have a deal? Who else has a deal like that?
And they didn't do it this year, and I tried. They did a lifetime pass. They only had a few of them, and they're really hard to get. They sell out
immediately.
I was really lucky that I got it. They're hard to get.
Olive Garden.
So I hope they do it again. I'll try.
They have a lifetime pass?
Yeah, they did.
Okay,
last year. They did a lifetime pass.
This is where I'm being a judgy little Italian girl, because I'm like, I don't know if I'd want that. Maybe while I'm on the road, but no.
But you might as well. You buy it once and then you have it forever.
No, that's a
even
good
if you
point.
don't use it.
Yeah. And you can like, can you treat people to like, can you bring people on the pass?
Well, no, but you can get refills and then give those to people. So, you know,
Right.
because it was like the never-ending pasta bowl was the deal. I don't. So you can get like you get your first entree, and then you can get a refill, and you can take that to go. So I would, yeah. So yeah, a lot of the comics, I would like take the comics we'd meet at Olive Garden, and then I would treat them to Olive Garden. and I, you know, and tips. You know, of course, I didn't want to be a jerk about not tipping. So
Sure. No, tipping is important.
really, it was just tips. But I felt kind of like I'd be in San Francisco, you know, like some of the best restaurants in the world, and I'm going to Olive Garden.
But, you know, there's a consistency. Like, whether you're, I don't know where all you've done shows, but, like, if you're in Bradenton, Florida, or, you know, Pittsburgh, or New Hampshire, or Albuquerque, like, there's probably an Olive Garden, and you know what it's going to taste like. And
They're everywhere.
yeah.
Yep.
Like, and you don't have
It
to
was a
guess,
nice-
like, what's going to, like, I know that restaurant's good, but, like, I don't know what I want. I've never had it before. Am I going to waste my money on something that I'm not going to like? Like, no. All the guesswork's out of it.
Yep. Yep.
And you
And
can,
in some places, I was like a celebrity because, like, I'd say, they'd tell my server I have a pasta pass, and then the managers would come out and they'd be like, "Oh, we didn't think we were going to get one this year," and they'd be so excited that there was somebody there with a pasta pass.
wow. That's really cool, especially since you basically weren't paying, that they were like, "Oh, wow, we're so glad you're here."
Yeah, yeah.
It is important to tip, though. Like you said, like I've known waiters and they don't get tipped on like gift cards because people forget that that's like still part of it. Like the waiter's still not getting tipped. So
Yeah.
thank you for making
And you
that
know,
point.
and that's an important thing when you're asking about people on the road too, is to take care of your health. I've seen so many comics that have been, because it's so easy to just like go get gas station chicken or something, you know, and eat you know, potato chips and just bad food, and then drink after the shows, and yes, be healthy.
So how
I
else
feel
can
like
you
a mom.
how else can you be healthy on the road? We often have Miles Weber alongside Chelsea Bierce, who's always on the show, not today, but usually, and they work out on the road. Did you ever work out?
Yep, I have a yoga mat in the car that I bring with, and bands. I don't know if you watched the show Norseman.
No.
Celia Torp is Froya on Norseman. She has a workout and she has a book where, you know, like stretch bands.
Okay.
She works out with stretch bands. She's amazing. She's really, really strong. So I have those. Yeah, so it's easy to, I mean, it's not easy. A lot of hotels have gyms and you can walk around towns. Like I said, because your days are open, so you can walk around in town and you can do yoga in the hotel room, and I can work out with bands. So that's what I did.
Okay, so be healthy, find some sort of food deal, don't get scurvy.
Yep.
These are all great tips.
Yep.
I feel like you could teach like a seminar. One thing that we talked about a little bit, like pre-interview, was I've mentioned before. I've talked to comics and they'll sleep at rest stops and gas stations, but it's always guys that do. But you said that you have slept at rest stops and gas stations.
Oh, sure. Well, because like I said, I'm financing it with what I'm making, so sometimes it was a little tight in between shows. So, but not rest stops freak me out. They are so sketchy. I won't even stop there for the bathroom. But truck stops, because nothing weird ever happens at a truck stop. But it was easier when I had the minivan because I could sleep in the back of the minivan. There was more space. But I would just, most of the time when I was traveling, I had the Honda. I have an Accord.
Oh, okay.
So, but I would just I'd park in a more trafficked area where there was people around and sleep in the car. Yeah, it worked fine.
Did you ever have like somebody knock on your window or anything?
Nope, never.
Really?
Never had a weird experience. Yeah, I knock on wood, thank goodness, I guess. But yeah, it was
That's good. Yeah.
no troubles ever.
Okay. Did you ever park at a truck stop or a gas station that was near an Olive Garden like to prepare for the morning?
So I'd be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean,
you
just,
know,
like that's where
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think
go.
they're usually that. I don't think they're usually that close together. Yeah.
They're missing out. So you have relocated markets. You started here in Sacramento, and then you're splitting your time between Minneapolis and Los Angeles, but now you're just based in Minneapolis, right?
Well, yeah, because everything. So I was out. I did San Luis Obispo Festival, and then Half Moon Bay was my last show, March 12th, with Larry Bubbles Brown. Was there, and you know, and we were all kind of like, oh, what's going to happen? Because I had spring was going to be my best season ever. This year, I had corporate things booked that were going to pay really well. I got into a festival in Alaska. I had shows in Norway. I had plane tickets and everything set. Oh, it was going to be the best. And then the 12th, you know, I was booked in Santa Cruz. So I had the show Thursday the 12th, and I was booked in Santa Cruz to headline at DNA's Comedy Lab Friday and Saturday. And then Friday morning, they were like, we're not going to do the shows. But then the corporate things that I had the following week, they were still like, maybe we're going to do the show still. So then I lost the money that I was going to be making and the shows in between. So I had to figure out how to keep myself there if I was going to stay for the corporate shows. And then they just kind of gradually, like, one canceled and then another one canceled. And then I just wrote to the rest of them and said, you know, I just got to cut my losses and start driving back to Minnesota. Because this is where my husband lives in Minnesota. We have our place here. And then when I was on the road, I would just, like, I'd be out in LA for a few months and sublease a place out there and then come back here for a little bit and then go again or be on the road or doing shows or whatever. So, yeah, since March, I just drove back. I just drove straight back and been depressed and sad, just sitting here in the snow ever since.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I've had a lot of really talented and generally successful people on the show in the last, I think this is 33, I can't remember. But we started, you know, in April after the pandemic had already hit, and it's kind of been the same for, like, everyone had to cancel everything, and I'm not nearly as successful as you or anyone else I've interviewed, but, you know, I had a couple shows get canceled in March, and then I had a couple things lined up for the summer, and it's just like, ugh. But I can say for you and all my other friends and everyone else that I've interviewed, they booked you before, so they're going to book you again.
Yeah, I know. That's what they said when they canceled, too. Like, you know, we want to bring you back for next year. We'll just do the same date next year. And then I even had things that were scheduled out to October. So I thought that, you know, because we thought, it's just going to be a couple weeks, and maybe it's going to be a month, and
right.
then blah, blah.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, I don't even know. I'm not.
I did like low key, like, say, oh, poor spring birthday babies, like, your birthday is gonna, and then, like, summer came and I was like, oh, poor summer, and then my birthday came in September and I was like, oh shit, okay, this is gonna be everybody's birthday.
And I don't want to complain because I know a lot of people are really struggling and I have a much harder time. So it could be a lot worse. It's just hard.
No, it could be.
It's the thing I love doing more than anything else in the world, and I can't do it.
It's so relative though. Like, it's what you do and you love doing it and you're so good at it, and it sucks, you know? And there's no substitute. We've talked a lot about that on the show. There's no substitute for live stand-up comedy. Like,
nope.
You know, even like Zoom shows aren't.
No.
So, and I know, you know, Emma Haney, she's been on the show and we've talked about, like, she plays video games, but doing stand-up over Zoom doesn't do it for her. It kind of terrifies me because I don't have a connection point with the audience. Like, I don't know. I mean, you and I just talked about, like, the audience that doesn't emote, like, with their face. Like, but at least they're there. At least you can, like, you hope that maybe they'll scowl if they start not liking something. But like
Right.
on Zoom, I don't know. I know it works
I
for
know.
some people, so.
Because I like to have interaction with the audience too, you know, and if he just, yeah, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah. So you were on the road, so you hadn't really. Would you consider that you relocated markets, or would you say that at that point you just changed where you were based from?
Yeah, more like I was trying to spend more time out in LA because you kind of just have to be there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was starting to get some traction, you know, like I got Kill Tony and got, you know, so I got booked on other shows in LA based on people who saw me on Kill Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And just starting to get to know people more and networking around there and going to the Improv and Comedy Store. And but then I'd come back and forth, so because, you know, family's here.
Sure.
So, you know, to be fair, for Acme, I wasn't here, like, consistently. So it wasn't like they would see me every week. But it's still been very frustrating because I'm right next door.
Right.
And I've done, yeah, I do well there. And they've got the best audiences. Oh, it's so much fun. That open mic is crazy. And I've done guest sets on weekends and done well. But
I think that's what I was gonna ask, and it's crazy. But I did want to say really quick, we had Torio Van Grohl on the other day, and he's done some shows in Minneapolis. He said as long as you can like get some people there, they love being there because they're out of the cold. They have somewhere to be that's
Yeah.
warm. But no, so help me understand. And I wasn't going to bring it up, but me and Dave brought it up, and then you kind of just touched on it. So you do well in Sacramento. You do well in LA. You're starting to get traction. You do well every time you're on stage at Acme in Minneapolis, but they still, I mean, I know you weren't there consistently, but like, what do they need? Is it just that they just need? Do they want you to be there consistently?
I think they have a process kind of where they bring people up. You go through their process. You do their open mics. You know, kind of how the Punchline in San Francisco. I don't know if they still do that. You know, you go and you hang out and you're there and they see week after week, and then you do. So they just have their process, and you can't just leapfrog over it, I guess. But
Okay, I mean, I don't know if anyone from the club watches this show. I'm going to say probably not, but they're really missing out. When they start up, they should contact you and see if they can.
And like I said, I'm not great. I'm not like a really outgoing person, so I'm not great at networking and talking to people and stuff either. So it's also my fault, I think.
I don't know. Dave said he walked in and you were killing. That should be enough to say like, hey, are you based locally? Like, would you like to come back next week? I've never run a club, so I can't be too judgy. I don't know what that's like, but
You'd like to think that the comedy would speak for itself, but
I do, like, as when I book my shows, when I produce shows and I book them, I don't need to see somebody like 3 or 4 times. Usually, like, I do like to see people live. I'll say that when I book. Like, I don't want to see a tape if I don't have to. I have booked people off of like, I saw somebody on Netflix and I was like, oh, yep, done. That's good for me. Like 30 seconds in. But if I see somebody live, and then I can gauge right there, like, oh, this is good. This is, I don't know. That's just me booking my show. So like I said, I don't book a club, but I would think that's enough. What's the...
Well, and the other thing about Minneapolis is, you know, so I'm not an open micer, but you know how, like, when you are new, you kind of have your like crew of people that you start out with, and you all go to the open mics together, and you get to know each other, and you progress kind of together as a group. And so coming in as an outsider, I don't really have like my open mic gang, and I can't really just be like, hey, everybody that's already established, be friends with me now, you know. And it seems like too, there's not as much like independently produced shows. You know how Sacramento, like, people are just put on a show and just everywhere, every venue. If there's a bar or restaurant or any place that has anything even close to a stage, somebody's producing a show there. And it seems like there isn't as much of that here. So, and I think people are a little more wary of new people here in Minneapolis too, more so than Sacramento. Is just we were probably too welcoming to new people, because we've had, like, do you know about the bank robber? Has anybody talked about the bank robber that came to town?
No,
to do an open mic?
When was that?
Yeah. Oh, it's been quite a while. 7 years. I can send you links, because he was like FBI wanted guy.
Oh.
And he came and he had this fake English accent, and he said his name was Jake. I think it was Jake Fox, but he spelled it F-A-U-X. Like, that should have been a clue that he was fake. But he was, he wasn't bad. He was pretty funny. But then he got caught. He because he put his face on flyers. He had his picture on flyers, and he was like in the post office. And then he had on social media that he was going to Disneyland or something, and then that's where they caught him. They caught him at Disneyland. And then there was another guy who was on the Amber Alert list, who was running a teen mic at Tommy T's in Rancho. It's not open anymore, so I can talk about it. So, everybody's just, hey, a new person, come on in, run a show. So we're probably a little too accepting in Sacramento. So there's probably some happy medium there.
You did jog my memory. I've heard about the bank robber guy.
Yeah.
But it's great. Like, if you're on the wanted list, why would you start performing and putting your face on poster? Like, change your face or something.
I know. I guess he thought, because I think the robbery was in Utah, and I guess he thought he was far enough away. Maybe, I don't know. Crazy.
I do have to say, like, the dedication on him that he still needed to perform and open mic and be booked on shows. I guess props for, like, not giving up that dream. I don't know what to say. Like,
well, maybe that's just proof of what an addiction it is. Because I think it is.
Yeah. I think so.
And I think that's why so many of us are having such a hard time in this, because we can't get our fix.
Have you considered doing anything else? And I mean, not stand up online, because to me the medium is different. Like, if you're not in front of people live with a microphone, it's not that medium. But have you considered doing anything else to kind of fill that jonesing? Yeah,
so I just finished the classes through UCB, improv classes. So I just finished through 401. When I was down there, I was going to UCB on Sunset, and then the shutdown happened. I had one more round of classes to go, so they just did those online, and I just finished that. So I think, like, commercial work is going to come back sooner than stand-up and acting, and auditions are starting to happen here now. So, and they always ask, like, they want people with improv experience. That's why I did UCB. And stand-up. They like stand-up people, too, for commercials, I think, because we can kind of roll with the punches, and improv it.
So then you've been acting the whole time that you've been doing stand-up comedy?
Yeah. Just, like, not anything big. Like, a lot of crime reenactment shows I've done. They're all on my IMDb. And some background. Like, I did background for Wine Country, the Amy Poehler movie, which was really fun, because it was Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, and Rachel Dratch. And it was just so cool to just be, like, in the room with them,
That is cool, yeah. Do you like acting as much as stand-up?
Well, it's so different. I really, really like it. It's a lot of waiting around. But yeah, I really do. I like it a lot. It's just a whole different thing. It's not the same rush as stand-up is, I guess, I don't get that same feeling out of it. But yeah, it's fun. And it's so interesting. It's just so interesting to be on set and just to see how everything works. Cool.
Is that the only other thing you're really trying besides stand-up comedy?
Yeah, commercial work. I feel like I needed to be thinner and better looking to get commercials. So I'm working on what I can control in that way. Because stand-up, not necessary.
People do talk about that. They're like, oh, that person is good looking for stand-up. Or like,
yeah.
It's a good thing that person is a stand-up and not an actor. But I think
Right.
I think you look fine. So I don't know.
Thanks.
My opinion. What do you miss? You mentioned like the rush. What do you miss about stand-up?
Everything. Probably my friends, the people, mostly. It's just being able to, I'm going to get all emotional. Just being able to like touch people and hug and talk after shows and hang out and just talk about stand-up, because I could talk about stand-up all day, and you can really only do that with other comics, people who understand, Yeah, probably my friends.
What do you?
I was thinking about that today too, because like before, if there was like a major thing like we're having right now, like this quarantine deal, if there was any like tragedy or somebody died or something, we'd be like, hey, we're all going to meet at Laugh this afternoon or tonight, and everybody would be there, and we could all cry and hug and have a drink together, and but with this we can't commiserate with each other because we can't get together in person. So it's just, it's been, I know it's hard. I know it's been really hard on everybody, but.
No, it's relative. I mean, it sounds hard, and I feel the same way. Like I miss seeing all the people that I used to see. I'm lucky I still get to see some people because we've been with each other the whole time. So it's like, that's my bubble. But
yeah, that's good.
Is there anything that you don't miss about stand-up comedy?
So I think maybe, and I think I might change my behavior, going forward, there's always some shows that I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do that show, but I'll do it because I want some money, and, I think I might just not do those shows. But then I think a lot of times that's when you get really good stories out of those kind of shows too. So I don't know, maybe I'll just, because my attitude has kind of been like, I'll say yes to anything. Because, so I don't remember who told me, but they said to go into every show with just a neutral attitude, because if you go in thinking like, oh, this show is going to suck, then you're going to, no matter how hard you try, you're probably going to project that energy to the audience, and then the show is going to suck. And if you, on the opposite side, if you go in thinking like, oh, this is going to be awesome, and then your first joke doesn't land quite as well as you think it should or something, and then your brain is like, oh crap, it was going to be awesome, and it's not, and it just throws you off. So they said just go in with a neutral attitude and see what happens.
It's very Buddhist, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going back, I don't know, maybe there will be some shows that I turn down, I think, going forward. Because that's probably the one thing I don't miss, is when shows aren't great.
That's really interesting, because like I said, I'm not at that level where I get asked to do many shows, so I do take all the shows that people ask me to do. But you're not the first comic that I've interviewed who was like, you know what, I don't have time for shows I don't want to do anymore. Like, I'm gonna just do the shows I want.
Oh, good. And I think it is good at the beginning to not turn down stage time. If somebody offers you stage time, take it. Absolutely. But then after a while, you can be a little more,
discretionary.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's one day maybe I'll get there if this is ever over. So I asked what you miss about stand-up comedy. So your answer could be the same, but what do you love about stand-up comedy?
So I used to answer this question, just making people happy and hearing the laughter of the crowd, which is true. That is great. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that I really get out of it is like the control and the power that you have when you just know that you've got the audience right there, and they're just like, you've got 300 people and you can hear a pin drop and they're just waiting for the next thing that you're going to say. And I just know, like, I know if I've got like a really strong bit, I just know I'm going to throw it out there and it's going to create a physical reaction in the room. And it's just like, oh, this is the best feeling. That's what's best for me.
That is the difference between like acting on camera and stand up. Like, is that sort of like
feedback.
What you described?
Yeah.
I won't try to. So usually I ask this question in rapid fire, but you said you had a funny story. What is the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
Oh, thanks for the weird boner.
Well, okay, all right. I have to unpack this. I'm sorry. So it was a man, obviously.
Yeah.
How old was this man?
Oh, 20s probably.
So was he saying weird boner because he was younger than you?
Because he was what?
Because he was younger?
I think so. I think that I probably wasn't the kind of person that would normally inspire that reaction from him.
So he learned something about himself that day.
Yeah, I guess so. And just that he needed to tell me that, I thought was just,
Yeah, like that's
my favorite.
That's like a keep it to
Another
yourself
one,
comment.
Robert Barry knows. I can't remember exactly. He always likes to tell the story. Some guy it was at Comedy Spot after a show said something like, "You're hot in a creepy way" or something like that. It was like a super backhanded compliment. Yeah.
Okay,
Those are the best.
Those are weird. Those are definitely. What do you say back to like thanks for the weird boner or you're hot in a creepy way?
You're welcome, I guess.
Okay.
What else? What else are you gonna say?
I don't know. But I guess that's and then you move, and then they go away, and like you just move on.
Yep, I just have that little memory forever.
Probably the best. Probably that's best to just walk away from that.
Yeah.
So you have an appearance online on Tuesday.
Yes.
Tell
And
me
you know what?
about
I
that.
just remembered too, the other thing that I do is the Fine Brothers Entertainment, the YouTube channel, Fine Brothers. They do all the React videos. I'm one
Okay.
of their elders. So when that ramps back up again, they've been like protecting the elders because they don't want to expose us to anything because we're so vulnerable.
I mean, I'd
So but when
hardly.
that ramps up again, that's probably the thing I get recognized for most
Mhm.
at just random places, because like every video will get like 2-3 million views, which is crazy. They're really popular within a certain group, I guess.
Mhm.
But so I'm looking forward to doing those again too.
I think it's a little bit comical that you're an elder, but
Well, I'm 60.
I know, but I'm 37. Like that's not that much different. Like it doesn't feel like I'm that close to being an elder, but I guess maybe those are marketed to like teens.
Yeah, it goes fast.
So okay, so you have the elder react videos.
Yep. And so then in Tuesday,
Mhm.
I'm going to be, I set up my friend, Mrs. Claus, to do Debbie Gutierrez's podcast. She has a cooking show, and then she also does a podcast on Tuesdays.
And it's a video
So-
podcast?
What's that?
It's a video podcast?
Yep.
Okay.
Streaming. So they'll stream live on YouTube, and then it'll be, I think, like you guys, same way you guys do it, I think.
So your friend Mrs. Claus is on this cooking show on Tuesday. Okay, so people can check you out there. All right, cool. That's all. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we get to rapid fire?
I don't think so.
Okay. Sometimes I'm not smart enough to think of everything. So,
No, this was fun.
Jesse, has anyone written in about global transient amnesia? Okay, then I'm just going to go with that. Cheryl Anderson, are you ready for rapid fire questions?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Try.
Do you ever wear wigs?
Wigs?
Mm-hmm.
No.
If you did, what would your favorite color be?
Something different. I guess I'd have all different. I have red and black and all different colors.
I've never asked a non-wig wearer, so I thought I'd ask you just to see how that felt. When you put on a bra, do you clasp it in front and spin it around, or do you do the unnatural thing and like bend your arms like a pterodactyl?
Well, I do yoga, so I'm very flexible. So,
so you do clasp it in back.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're only the second person, maybe the third on the show that does that. Chelsea does. Everyone else is a front and spin. How high is too high for high heels?
Oh, well, I'm almost 6 feet tall, so I've never really worn much heels. Probably 1.5 inches is probably the highest high heel I have right now.
If you were performing tonight, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh, well, it depends on what the venue is. I like FDB, fuck that bitch, Young Dro, and I like Fucking Problem, and Truth Hurts, Lizzo, Truth Hurts. Because Minneapolis kind of claims Lizzo, so yeah, it depends on the venue, but Truth Hurts has been my favorite lately.
Lizzo's it covers all the base, like everybody knows Lizzo. Do you have a favorite recurring show to perform in?
Well, the open mic at Acme was always a lot of fun. I really liked doing that when it was happening, but everything is closed here again. Laughs Unlimited, I love going to Laughs Unlimited. It just feels that's just home, you know. So anything, like the showcases there, the open mic, yeah.
So you
well, and then when I had the Real Housewives of Rio Linda, I'd call that a recurring show, yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that we had so much fun. I love those women so much.
No, those I was just thinking about that, and I was going to have you do it at the end, but you brought it up. Can you name drop the other Housewives of Rio Linda?
Sure, Kimmy K, Cinderella, Kristen Frisk, and Steph Garcia.
All amazing, hysterical, awesome women.
Yep, so funny.
I think you might have just answered, but what's your favorite venue to perform in?
Well, Laughs. Yeah, I love Laughs so much. I love the Punchline in Sacramento too, because it's just there's the energy of the Punchline is always just amazing. I think it's the low ceilings and they're close together and dark, and that's always fun. Acme is really fun. Yeah, and you know what else? Like Anthony K, his show down in Cheroot, the cigar bar.
Cheroot.
Down in, yeah. Wow, that was I had a fun night there. And there's another restaurant in Manteca. So sometimes it's just kind of like random little places are just the best. I can't pick a favorite now.
I've described something that you're kind of referencing. As long as it's terrible for COVID, but the smaller the room is, or the more full the room is. So it can be Punchline in Sacramento, as long as you have 200 people. But those little rooms down in Modesto and Manteca, they fill them. Like it's like so full, and there's nowhere for the energy to go. And that's what like producing. That's what I find makes the best show. If you can trap the energy in and you can fill the space with people, like that's going to be the best show without a doubt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we have to get back to in order for this to be fun again. Like if I walk into a room and it's a banquet room and it's all big banquet tables that like seat 10 people, so like half the audience is going to have their back to the stage and they're super spread out and there's really high ceilings. Oh God. this is gonna suck.
Yeah. You know, you're fighting to like keep the laugh down. Like you don't want it to escape up into the air. I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
next time you're in Sacramento and the world is normal, you'll have to come through to Stab too, because Stab, for me, it creates that sort of like, we're right here. I love it. So I mean, I love when there's 200 people at Punchline Sacramento too. So, and I've been to, I think it was Strings in Manteca. Like I've been in that room when it's just full of people, and it's so
fun. Yeah, Stab wasn't open yet when I left.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet.
Well, when all this is over, you'll have to stop in. Or I'll see if I can produce a show and you can be in it. Who's your favorite comic?
So there again, for different reasons, I like so many different comics. Mitch Hedberg, Maria Bamford, Louis Anderson. So those are like Minnesota comics. Eddie Murphy, early, his old stuff. Well, he doesn't do stand up now, but John Mulaney I like. I can't hardly think of comics who I don't like, because I like a lot of them for a lot of different reasons, and I like different bits that they do. So I like a lot of comics. Kind of sad. I don't enjoy like watching stand up as much as I did before I did it, because I'm a little more inside baseball about it now, But yeah, I still like it.
You know, like how the sausage is made, and so you're not really like that. When I go to a show and people are like, "Oh, do you want to sit with us at the table?" I'm like, "No, absolutely not. I want to sit in back and be on my phone and ignore everything until something piques my curiosity."
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the things that make you laugh when you're a comic are completely different than what's making the rest of the audience laugh.
Right.
So you'd be a weirdo.
You like inappropriately laugh at the quiet.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things too. Like when you see, like if you have a good friend, and if it's a bad show and it's just not going well, and then you can kind of see them like go ahead, like they know they've got a bit that is for sure going to work, and then it doesn't, and just the look on their face. It's the best.
Yeah. Do you know Andrew Arolfo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was my guest 2 weeks ago, and he did a set at Punchline SF, and they told the audience before he went up, like, because he wasn't in the building yet, it's tiny.
Yeah.
They told the audience before he arrived at the building, like, don't laugh. We're going to give you a code, and when that comic comes up, don't laugh. And so they like telegraphed the code to the audience. Like, I think the code was like, "Oh, it's getting hot. I'm going to take my jacket off." So the host said that, and then Andrew went up, and then the crowd, like, and I've watched the tape, so you can watch the tape. They don't laugh at anything, and it's like his A material. It's stuff that I've seen him do on TV, on late shows, and like it's amazing how well the crowd just didn't laugh at it, and just watching him, like I got like a little bit of PTSD because that's happened to me because I'm not good, but it was like, oh, so you might enjoy that.
I would. It's so mean. It's such a mean thing to do to somebody, but it's so funny.
It really is. I don't know. Yeah. I know every comic I know loves to watch a good bomb. What is your favorite?
If it's somebody that you know is funny, because you know that there's some things that you just can't control, and sometimes it's just the audience or whatever, I mean, it's not fun to watch somebody who's not funny bomb, because then that's just awkward.
I don't mind that either. I guess I'm kind of a bitch, but like I like the delusional bomb, like where they think they're like someone who's not funny and they think they are, and then like that's.
Oh yeah.
I still kind of enjoy that.
Because when I was hosting the open mic, there would always be some kind of like frat boy kind of guy who's like super funny with his friends, and he brings like 25 people to the open mic. He's going to do stand up for the first time, and he's just going to wing it because he's funny, and so I'm like, oh, this is going to be the best. And then he gets up and just bombs. That is wonderful.
Okay, so
and his friends are all in the audience like, oh god, this is really awkward. So
you used to host the the open mic showcase at Laughs Unlimited,
Yeah.
when that would happen, did you like have to kind of like go into the kitchen to like hide your laughter?
No.
You
'cause
just kept like you kept like a stone face, but internally you were like,
I was
ha ha ha.
professional about it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's also my favorite thing when somebody it's their first time and they did really well, and I could just like see it on their face when they were like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever done." You know, that was I loved that too. I love seeing first timers.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
They should. I don't know if you want to do that in Minneapolis, but they if you do, they should let you host a room. What's your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
Mimosas.
Say it again.
Duh. Mimosas.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Bottomless though, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there another answer?
Sometimes people have other answers, but usually it's mimosas.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I should really tabulate these and be like 95% of people say that. What is your preference, cooking or baking?
I'm going to say neither.
More of a peanut butter and breadsticks type of person?
Yep. Loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
delicious and healthy. If we're at the bar after a show and someone's buying us shots, what are we drinking?
Ooh. Last time I drank shots, it was at Jenny's at Laughs, her birthday party,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave us, they were like pink school buses or something. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
I don't even know what was in them, but they were delicious. And I had way too many. And then Jenny she makes this spaghetti with, it was her birthday, that's it, yeah, with hamburger and like cream cheese or something in it. And it's just, and I don't eat hamburger or cream cheese. But that night I said, give me a big old plate of that spaghetti. So yeah, all those school buses and that, and I got so sick. So that was the last time I had shots. So I would probably say no thank you to the shots. But I guess if you forced me, probably tequila.
I would give you my shot then. I would try the school
Okay.
bus shot if it
What
was.
do you choose? What do you pick?
Oh, I don't tell people what I choose because it's a really slippery slope for me to go from like in control Suzette to like oh no Suzette Fireball, which would be great in
Oh.
Minneapolis.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. You know, so I have done Edwin San Juan's room in Vegas a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the Aussie hunks are they're kind of like the Thunder from Down Under, but a little lower. But they're still really good. So we have to share the green room with them, and the Fireball is really expensive in Australia. Apparently, it's like top shelf liquor. So when they come here and it's so cheap, they were just like buying all the Fireball, and they were just like nuts for Fireball. So whenever somebody says Fireball, I think about the Aussie hunks.
You know.
So if you really want to impress, like if you meet somebody from Australia, you really want to impress them, give them some Fireball.
Good tip. That's a good road tip. If you run into an Australian, order
you
a
go.
round of Fireballs.
Yep.
Okay, so no shots. But if we're at the bar and someone's buying us drinks, what are we drinking?
Beers.
Say it again.
I like beer.
Beer.
Huh? Beer. I like beer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have a specific kind or just any?
Nah, whatever you got.
I like the non-pickiness. I'm picky, but not everyone has to be.
No,
Um,
I'm not.
This might be the most important question. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Thank you. Okay.
Over. I was a maid at a motel when I was in school, like working to go through school. So and sometimes when I'm in a public bathroom, I do the little triangle fold, and when I leave, just so the people after me can feel fancy.
Oh, that's really nice of you.
I know. I just, spreading joy wherever I go.
I should have known that you were going to say, when people say under, I'm like, we can't be friends anymore.
No. Ugh.
Okay. Do you have a favorite drag queen?
I don't. I'm not really familiar with the community. Oh, wait, Suzette is my favorite. Duh.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
How
you.
could I?
Thank you.
Of course.
There's some really great ones. I'll have to think of some great ones local to you and national, and introduce you to some around here next time you're around.
Okay.
But thank you. That's really nice of you to say. So I'm gonna imagine you don't have a favorite drag king.
Nope.
Okay, I had one loaded to suggest. There's a drag king in Chicago named Tenderoni, who is amazing, and that's not Minneapolis, of course, but it's like nearish. So if
Yeah.
you ever get a chance to see Tenderoni, you should.
Okay.
Yeah, that
I'll check it
or
out.
if I can ever convince Emma Haney to perform.
Roy Orbison.
Yeah, I mean I don't know what
Yeah.
her name would be, but yeah, anything Emma does, Roy Orbison wise in drag, I'm like do it. So
I'll fly to Sacramento special to see that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna clip that and send it to Emma so she
Okay.
feels inspired. Oh, do you think I'm pretty?
Oh, you're beautiful.
Thank
Of course.
you. Thank you. And then last question of the whole interview. When all of this is over and we have a new normal or an old normal or just a normal of any kind, what are you most excited to do?
Touch people.
Mm.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't go away. I hope it's not like, oh, we don't do that anymore. I hope people are. And I didn't even think I liked being around people because I'm pretty content to be on my own, like when I'm on the road and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But turns out that I really miss it.
If people came up to me and said, like, thanks for the weird boner, I also would think that maybe I don't like being around people. So maybe people have just set you up for that. Cheryl, that was the interview. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This was really fun. It was really good talking with you.
Yeah, please, anytime you want to come back, let me know. Would love to have you back in any capacity. Okay. And Tuesday, do you know the channel that people can look you up on?
It's on my Instagram.
Okay. So people can go.
The link is on Instagram.
And your Instagram handle is below your feed right now, so people can just go to your Instagram and they can see you on Tuesday.
Cool.
Or your friend Mrs. Claus.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks, Cheryl. Miss you, and
thank you.
Can't wait to see you in
Miss you
person
too.
one day. And thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was Cheryl Anderson, aka the Soccer Mom. Definitely follow her. I know I say this about everybody, but I mean it about everybody, and I definitely mean it about her. Follow her if she's ever in your area. If when we go back to performers being live, don't miss. I promise. You'll thank me. You'll be like, Suzette, thank you. And with that, we're going to go with our final contributor. He always pulls in on the end of the show. Writer, comic, actor, producer, whatever he's trying to do and failing. David Shapiro. Hi, David.
Hey, Suzette.
Hi.
Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
I'm okay.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Fourth night of Hanukkah tonight. And I thought I would tell your viewers the story of Hanukkah, which is not the version I tell when I do stand-up.
You don't do stand-up well.
This is the actual version of Hanukkah. But first, I'll hold this up. This is a menorah. I don't know if the screen's backwards or forwards, but this is a menorah, and you're supposed to light it from right to left as you read Hebrew. And just in case, this is I don't know which is your right to left. I don't actually watch your show. Hi. Yeah, so that's a menorah, and I have it set up for lighting tonight. Technically, this is a Hanukkah. That's what you call a Hanukkah menorah, a Hanukkah. No one calls it that, though. Everyone just calls it a menorah, but a menorah is actually just a Jewish candle holder. traditional menorahs, this is mind-blowing for some people, have 7 arms. Hanukkahs, the Hanukkah menorah, have 9, and that's 1 for each night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1 in the middle is the shamus. And the way you light the menorah, again, from right to left, so it's at least my right to left right now, you light this one with a match, right? Like, you light it, you say the blessing, to the Lord above. Some people call him Commander of the Universe. And then you light with the shamus, that's the middle candle, you light with the shamus, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and then you put that back, and then you have your lit menorah. And so that's a menorah. Now, the story of Hanukkah. A long time ago, somebody hated the Jews. That's weird, because someone always hates the Jews. True. Even currently, someone hates the Jews. But this was actually a long time ago, and somebody hated the Jews, and it was the Greek Syrians. I don't know why they combined. It was like a Trinidad and Tobago, sort of like for Olympics, maybe Greek Syria. I don't know. I'm making that part up. Anyway, moving on. The Greek Syrian Empire did not like the Jews. Someone never does. And they had a big war with the Jews, and Judah Maccabee and the Maccabees. They were a mighty little band of soldiers, and they thoroughly, whomped the Greek Syrian army, right? So that was cool. And the Jews won, as we always do. It's kind of our thing. Come after us, we'll win, you'll lose. Sorry. It's weird, right? People still keep coming. Anyway, the Greek Syrians destroyed the temple, the Great Temple. Not any temple, the Great Temple. And it was a bummer, I guess. I wasn't there. And they were like, well, you know what? We're still going to pray. It's still Sabbath. We're still going to do our thing. And then they were like, hey, Ryan, there are no Jews named Ryan, but that's the first name that came to mind. Ryan, let's make it a Jewish name, actually. Moishe, go get the oil to light the candles. We have to light the candles for Sabbath on our menorah. And this would have been a 7-armed menorah. So go get the oil so we can light the menorah for the Sabbath. And Moishe Ryan. He went, he got the oil, and he was like, oh, crap, or whatever, Jews back in 63 BC said. Was that when it was? I'm going to check when it was. There's a timeline somewhere. I just looked it up because I don't actually know when it was. Because Hanukkah, it's not really an important holiday for Jews. It's like the 8th most important holiday, but it's near Christmas, so Jewish parents make a big deal out of it, so Jewish kids don't feel left out. Anyway, Ryan Moishe, he goes, he gets the oil, and he's like, this is 63 BCE, by the way. There's only enough oil for the one night. Oi! As Jews say. And they were like, you know what? This is a problem. Don't worry about it. Light the menorah. We're going to send Roy. Now, I know at home you're like, hey, that's another non-Jewish name. You're right. Let me look up the etymology of Roy while I'm telling you this. I had an uncle named Roy, and he was a Jew, a Jewish man. Etymology... nope, that just... the name Roy. Okay. So anyway, I had an uncle named Roy, and it's old French? Huh, okay. Well, here's the thing about Roys. I've never known a bad one. Every Roy I've ever known, solid stand-up guy. They're all amazing. Anyway, back to the story. I'm going to recap here, and then we're going to get back to where we were. Greek Syrians were mad at the Jews. We're going to get you. They destroyed the temple. Then the Maccabee tribe, led by Judah, they fought back, and they were like, we're like 8 of us, but we beat this whole army. Kapow, kapow, kapow. They fought like rock'em sock'em robots. And then they won. And then the Greek Syrians were like, we're fleeing, we're out of here, because the Jews are mighty. No one should ever mess with them again. No one listens. But the temple was destroyed. And they were like, that's cool. We're going to light our 7-armed menorah for Sabbath. Moishe Ryan, go get the oil. Moshe Ryan comes back, and he's like, oh no, there's only enough for one night. Oi! And they were like, that's fine. We're going to send Roy, go get the oil from the other place that we get oil. And Roy was like, I can do it. I'm a stand-up guy. My name's Roy. I'll never let you down. But it's 4 days away and 4 days back. It's going to be 8 days until I get back. It's over a week, if we even have weeks in BCE. I don't know if we have weeks right now because my name's Roy and I'm alive in 63 BCE. And they were like, it's fine. Go get the oil. We'll take care of it. Somehow, some way, we'll keep this candle lit for the 2 days of Sabbath, right? Because that's how long, So Roy said, all right, I'm going to go get that oil. It's going to be 8 days. I don't have a car. It's BCE. It's 4 days walk and 4 days back. I will go get the oil. You're lucky that it takes me as quick to come back with gallons of oil as it would to get there. You'd think it would take me longer, but it didn't. 4 days back, 4 days there. So Roy departs to get the oil. And they light the menorah. They do the Sabbath blessing, and they light the menorah to the commander of the universe. Some people call him also Lord of the universe. And they miraculously, the menorah stays lit. Not for 1, not for 2, not for 3, not for 4, not for 5, not for 6, not for 7, but for 8 Miami Heat days. Someone call Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. For 8 days, the menorah stays lit. If you didn't get that reference, then you're not lit. The menorah stays lit, and it burns brightly through the night, and it's beautiful as menorahs tend to be. And everyone's like, holy crap, or whatever Jews in 63 BE say. Probably, oi gavolt, it's a miracle. How is this happening? And Roy gets back, and he's like, hey, I have all of the gallons of holy oy vey. And they're like, right, we know. It's still lit. Like, wow. It's still, like, it's a miracle. And Roy was like, it is a miracle. And they were like, what are we going to, we got to make a holiday out of this thing. So Jewish children can feel included one day in winter celebrations and not left out. And they were like, what should we call it? Let's call it Hanukkah, which means Miracle of Lights. So now, every year, the Miracle of Lights is celebrated. It's a little, like I said, it's like the 8th most important Jewish holiday. It's really not that important. You got Yom Kippur, and you got your Rosh Hashanah, you have your Passover, you have your Sukkot, you have your best Jewish holiday ever, Purim, which I talked about on a recent episode. I'm sure there's like 1 or 2 others, actually, that are even still more important. But for whatever reason, everyone knows Hanukkah. And so when you see one of these menorahs, again, I don't know if this is right to left or left to right. When you see one of these menorahs burning, they're quite beautiful, and they're supposed to be displayed in a window, which I never do display it in a window because I don't have a table by the window. But they're pretty. And I guess they mean miracles can happen. And I will say that I've had the weirdest Hanukkah of my life this year.
Go on.
It moves around because it's on the Jewish calendar, which is lunar based. So it's never the same. Sometimes it's during Christmas. Sometimes it's during Thanksgiving. Sometimes, like now, it's in the middle. It's always moving around. It happens to be this year on my former dog's birthday. His name was Giles. His birthday was yesterday. He would be very happy with the gift that I and someone else got him. So happy birthday to him. Happy Hanukkah to all of your viewers. I know that you have Jews in your life beside me.
I do.
Happy Hanukkah to you,
Thank
Suzette. Yeah. Thanks for letting me tell the story of Hanukkah.
Thank you for telling it.
Okay. Well, you take care. Try not to light a menorah yourself because your hair is a fire hazard. Seriously. It's dry. It's very, very dry hair, and you should do something about it.
Sir.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Good.
Yes.
Well, anyway,
away.
happy Hanukkah and season's greetings, and I'm out.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks for being mean at the end. Okay, cool. That's it. That's the whole show. That was today's show. It was a fantastic show. We had Mean Dave. We had Cheryl Anderson, David Shapiro. Thank you to Stab and Jesse for everything, as always, letting us do the show, controlling the board. We will be back next week on December 20th at like 5:03 p.m. So see you next week. Bye. Happy Hanukkah.
And thank you all that are still here from the raid from Comedy Hub. Thank you guys for joining and checking in with us. If you liked what you saw, do please feel free to give us a follow here. Stab Comedy Theater doing stuff live, improv, stand-up, sketch, podcast, gaming, stuff 7 days a week. You can check out the full calendar of events at stabcomedytheater.com. Or over here on Twitch, you can just scroll down and see the upcoming week's worth of stuff right below. And I am going to, as soon as we finish the credits here, going to send all the rest of you folk over to Mediocre Films, I believe. I think that's what we're going to do next. Sorry, I'm doing things like two hands here at the same time. Both sides of the brain. Everything is going to work out. It's going to be fine. But thanks for joining us. Thank you, Suzette. Thank you, Cheryl, Dave, everybody. That's it for us this evening. Hang in there real quick while I send you guys over to Mediocre Films. Thanks for hanging out. See you in a bit. See you in the morning. Yeah, join me in the morning. Office hours. We can get some work done. Either way, see you tomorrow.